Picture the city of Solomon. It is 950 BC. The king is building the most celebrated palace and temple the ancient world has ever seen, and the daily menu of his court has been recorded in the first book of Kings: wheat, barley, figs, pomegranates, olives, dates, honey, and fish. Not as luxury, as daily medicine. As the precise nutritional architecture that kept one of history's most celebrated minds sharp, his body vital, and his kingdom running for 40 years. Here is what the modern world has forgotten. The foods described in Scripture in the Torah, the Psalms, the Gospels, and the prophets were not casual references. They were intentional. They were prescribed. In the ancient Near East, food and medicine were the same category. The physician and the priest consulted the same texts, and those texts described 13 specific foods that modern nutritional science is now studying with extraordinary results. Today we are covering 13 superfoods that God placed in Scripture before the first pharmaceutical company ever existed. Number 6 is a fruit from the Song of Solomon, now shown in clinical trials to reduce arterial plaque by up to 30%. And number 11 is a seed so nutritionally complete that NASA studied it for long-duration space missions, and it grows wild across the biblical landscape. Subscribe to The Hidden Herbalist right now. The oldest prescription ever written was written in food. Number 1, olive oil, appears over 200 times in the Bible. It anointed kings, fueled temple lamps, prepared offerings, and healed wounds. In Deuteronomy 8:8, God describes the Promised Land specifically as a land of olive oil. Ancient physicians from Egypt to Greece used it as their primary therapeutic vehicle, not just a carrier for other medicines, but a medicine in itself. The science is now extraordinary. Extra virgin olive oil contains oleocanthal, identified by researcher Paul Breslin, which inhibits COX-1 and COX-2 inflammatory enzymes by exactly the same mechanism as ibuprofen. That mild throat burn from quality olive oil is oleocanthal acting on the same receptors ibuprofen activates. The pre-deemed trial, involving over 7,000 participants, found that a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil reduced major cardiovascular events by 30% compared to a low-fat control diet. Anointed with it for 1,000 years, the laboratory finally understood why. Number 2, pomegranate. Pomegranate appears in Exodus, Deuteronomy, Song of Solomon, and the books of Kings. The high priest's robe was decorated with pomegranate symbols. Solomon's temple pillars were crowned with carved pomegranates. Every civilization that cultivated it had observed its extraordinary healing properties. Pomegranate contains punicalagin, found nowhere else in the plant kingdom, that the gut converts into urolithin A, one of the most powerful mitochondrial repair compounds ever identified. Urolithin A activate mitophagy, clearing damaged mitochondria and replacing them with new ones, directly opposing cellular aging. A 3-year randomized controlled trial in clinical nutrition found that patients with carotid artery stenosis who consume pomegranate juice daily showed a 30% reduction in plaque thickness, while the control group showed a 9% increase. The temple pillars were crowned with this fruit for a reason. The cardiologist is only now learning what the priest already knew. Number 3 figures when Hezekiah was dying of a life-threatening infection in 2 Kings chapter 20. The prophet Isaiah prescribed a poultice of figs, and Hezekiah recovered. The fig was one of the first plants cultivated by humans, with archaeological evidence dating to 11,400 years ago. Figs contain physin, a proteolytic enzyme with documented antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory activity. A study in diabetes research and clinical practice found that fig leaf extract significantly reduced postprandial blood glucose in type 2 diabetic patients. A 2022 study in the Journal of Functional Foods found dried fig consumption significantly reduced C-reactive protein and IL-6 in adults with metabolic syndrome. The oldest medical prescription in the Old Testament was for a fig. The biochemist is still studying it. Number 4, lentils. Esau trades his birthright for red lentil stew in Genesis 25. In Ezekiel, God instructs the prophet to bake bread containing lentils as a nutritionally complete survival food. The ancient world understood lentils as one of the most concentrated sources of sustained energy available. Lentils contain resistant starch, producing the lowest glycemic response of any legume. A meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition reviewing 37 trials found that regular legume consumption with lentils showing the strongest effect significantly reduced LDL cholesterol, fasting blood glucose, and systolic blood pressure. Their prebiotic fiber feeds bifidobacterium and lactobacillus species linked to reduced inflammation and improved mood via the gut-brain axis. Esau sold his birthright for something that would outperform half the products in a modern supplement store. Number 5. Dates. The date palm was so significant that it gave its name to women in the Bible, including Tamar. Egyptian medical papyri prescribed dates for over 20 conditions, including fever, intestinal inflammation, and weakness of the heart. Dates contain caffeic acid, ferulic acid, and proanthocyanidins shown in laboratory studies to inhibit amyloid beta plaque formation, the protein aggregates associated with Alzheimer's. A randomized trial in the Journal of Nutritional Science found daily date consumption over 4 weeks significantly improved lipid profiles, reducing triglycerides and LDL while increasing HDL without raising blood glucose despite the fruit's natural sugar content. The ancient world ate these for strength. The neuroscientist is now studying them for the brain. Number 6. Grape. The vine appears from Noah's vineyard in Genesis to Jesus calling himself the true vine in John 15. In 1 Timothy, Paul instructs Timothy to drink wine for his stomach and frequent illnesses, a medical prescription in apostolic correspondence. Red grapes contain resveratrol that activates S-pharnRT1, a primary longevity gene. S-pharnRT1 activation mimics caloric restriction, the only intervention proven in every organism studied to extend lifespan. Grapes also contain quercetin, a senolytic compound that clears damaged senescent cells. A meta-analysis in the British Journal of Nutrition found grape polyphenol supplementation significantly reduced systolic blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and inflammatory markers. The medicine was always in the skin of the fruit. Paul prescribed it for the stomach 2,000 years before probiotics were discovered. He was correct. Number 7. Honey. Raw. The Promised Land is described 17 times as flowing with milk and honey. Jonathan eats wild honey during battle and his eyes are brightened, a precise description of rapid glucose restoration during exertion that reads like a sports nutrition protocol. Raw honey contains hydrogen peroxide, methylglyoxal, and defensin, one making it one of the most broad-spectrum antimicrobial substances ever identified. A study in the Asian-Pacific Journal of Tropical Biomedicine confirmed Manuka honey's bactericidal activity against MRSA and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. A Cochrane review of 26 trials found honey-treated wounds healed faster with lower infection rates. ABMJ Open Study found raw honey reduced H. pylori bacterial load after 8 weeks addressing peptic ulcer disease without antibiotics. What Solomon called good medicine, the hospital is rediscovering in the age of antibiotic resistance. 7 foods that God placed in Scripture thousands of years before the first medical school. Olive oil, pomegranate, figs, lentils, dates, grapes, and raw honey. Everyone validated in peer-reviewed research. Number 11 is the seed NASA studied for space missions. Number 13 will genuinely surprise you. Subscribe right now and do not leave. Number 8. Almonds. In Genesis 43, Jacob sends almonds as a gift to the ruler of Egypt, among the most precious foods of the ancient world. God causes Aaron's rod to sprout almond blossoms as the sign of divine selection. The menorah was designed with almond blossom-shaped cups. No other food receives this level of ceremonial attention in Scripture. Almonds contain the highest vitamin E content of any whole food. A trial in the Journal of the American Heart Association found daily almond consumption significantly reduced LDL particle number, apolipoprotein B, and central adiposity. A study in metabolism found almonds at the beginning of a meal reduced postprandial blood glucose by up to 30% by slowing gastric emptying. The most celebrated food in the Tabernacle prescription is a cardiometabolic medicine of the highest order. Number 9. Barley. The loaves in the feeding of the 5,000 were specifically barley loaves. Hippocrates prescribed barley water tisane as his primary therapeutic food for sick patients. Barley contains the highest beta-glucan concentration of any grain of viscous fiber that slows glucose absorption, feeds gut bacteria, binds bile acids, and stimulates GLP-1 release, the body's own appetite-suppressing hormone. The mechanism pharmaceutical companies spend billions to replicate in GLP-1 drugs is produced naturally by consuming barley. A meta-analysis in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found barley beta-glucan significantly reduced fasting glucose, postprandial glucose, and HbA1c, outperforming oat beta-glucan in several comparisons. The grain of miracles was always a medical intervention. It just had a different name. Number 10. Fish, small, oily fish appear throughout the Gospels as the primary food of Jesus and the disciples. After the resurrection, Jesus prepares fish on a charcoal fire. Small, oily fish from the Sea of Galilee, sardines, anchovies were consumed daily by communities showing remarkably low rates of inflammatory diseases. EPA and DHA from these fish are precursors to specialized pro-resolving mediators SPMs that actively resolve inflammation rather than merely suppressing it. A meta-analysis in JAMA found omega-3 supplementation reduced fatal myocardial infarction risk by 35%. A separate meta-analysis in the Journal of Affective Disorders found omega-3s significantly more effective than placebo for depressive symptoms. The disciples ate small, oily fish every morning. The cardiologist would call that an optimal anti-inflammatory protocol. Number 11. Linen seed. Every linen garment worn by the priests, every linen cloth in the tabernacle, every burial shroud came from the flax plant, and the seed of that plant was consumed throughout the biblical world as food, medicine, and survival ration. This is the seed NASA studied. Flaxseed contains the highest plant-based omega-3 concentration, optimal fiber ratio, and lignans functioning as both phytoestrogens and antioxidants. A trial in cancer epidemiology, biomarkers, and prevention found daily flaxseed significantly reduced tumor proliferation markers in men with prostate cancer. A meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found flaxseed supplementation significantly reduced total and LDL cholesterol across 28 trials. The seed that clothed the priests of Israel was also healing the people wearing it. Number 12. Cumin. In Isaiah 28, God teaches farmers exactly how to thresh cumin without damaging the seed. In Matthew 23, Jesus names cumin as a tithed herb, indicating its extraordinary commercial value. In the ancient world, cumin was used as currency. Cumin is one of the most potent natural inhibitors of alpha-glucosidase, the enzyme converting starch to glucose, making it a direct blood sugar regulator at every meal. A trial in the International Journal of Preventive Medicine found cumin supplementation over 3 months significantly reduced fasting blood glucose, HbA1c, and cholesterol in type 2 diabetic patients, comparable to the drug glibenclamide. Its essential oil inhibits NF-kappa B, the master inflammatory switch, at concentrations achievable through normal culinary use. God instructed farmers to thresh this seed carefully. The seed carries medicine that breaks if you mishandle it. Number 13. Bitter herbs. The final food is the most overlooked and most pharmacologically extraordinary. In Exodus 12.8, God commands the Israelites to eat the Passover lamb with bitter herbs maror. This includes wild chicory, dandelion, endive, sorrel, and horseradish, the universal digestive medicine of the ancient world. Bitter compounds activate TAS2R receptors not only on the tongue but throughout the digestive tract, liver, gallbladder, and gut wall. This triggers bile production, hydrochloric acid secretion, pancreatic enzyme output, and normalized gut motility, priming the entire digestive system within minutes. A clinical review in the European Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology confirmed bitter herb preparation significantly improved functional dyspepsia, bile flow, and enzyme activity. The sesquiterpene lactones in chicory and dandelion have demonstrated hepatoprotective effects in human studies. God prescribed bitter herbs at the most sacred meal in the Hebrew calendar. The gastroenterologist has confirmed the prescription. You now know the 13 superfoods God placed in Scripture before the first physician ever wrote a prescription. Olive oil, pomegranate, figs, lentils, dates, grapes, raw honey, almonds, barley, fish, flaxseed, cumin, and bitter herbs. Everyone validated in peer-reviewed research. Everyone eaten daily by ancient populations with dramatically lower rates of the chronic diseases now killing the modern world. If this video opened your eyes to the pharmacy that was always on your plate, hit that like button right now. Leave a comment which of these 13 surprised you the most. Subscribe and hit the bell. The Hidden Herbalist posts every week. The oldest prescription was always the best one.